Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside Now. I am Brent West, along with Rodney West and Jack. Got a sinus infection this week and feeling bad. I'm still not over my little thing that I had going on, but getting better. Rodney, the professional wrestling business kind of crazy. Matt Riddle suspended because he did not pass his drug test. I think twice now. And,
well, the thing that Matt failed to understand is that when they told him that he had a drug test, he studied for it, and he should in his life, his success has never come from studying anything. So that's what happened, and so he failed that.
Richard Hood is with us. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to you, Richard. Good to have you on here with us. Hey, if you've got any questions, comments, send them on because we're just winging this today. I want to talk a little bit real quick. Charles Bellflower is with us as well. I want to talk about Christmas spectaculars. I was looking through some Christmas spectacular shows. In 1978, Augusta, Georgia, and Columbus, Georgia were run on Christmas Day. I guess one at the night, one in the evening. That's a far apart from each other, though.
I was about to say they must have had two crews for that because there's no way of making it from Augusta to Columbus. I don't think unless you did it at 1 in the afternoon, I'm not sure you could make it to an 8:30 show. I mean, I guess it's possible to get one match started and they send it on. I guess it's possible. I guess so.
1978, Andre the Giant and Dusty Rhodes wins the Tri-State Tag Team Championships by beating Stan Hansen and Ernie Ladd, and at New Orleans at the Superdome. I believe it was the Superdome. It could have been just at the regular arena, but I saw that. And there's a photograph that it's around there. This shows Andre and Dusty having that title. Rick Brooks is with us. Mickey Mayfield, Wendy Harkins says, evening, everyone. Stay weather aware tomorrow. Yes, Glenn Allen Shelton also with us. Paul Ante, good line about Riddle, Rodney. Hello, West Brothers. Hope is all is well with Jack. He will be back with us. He will be back.
I mean, the thing to me is that the information that I have, this is the second time he's failed this test.
Yes.
Now, somewhere down the line, you have to declare the person a liability and say, okay, it's time for you to maybe find another professional. This may not be the thing for you. It's just unbelievable that for the second time, that means he didn't learn his lesson the first time. So for the second time now, so will it be third, fourth, fifth, sixth? We understand he cannot count. So that might be a problem there. So, but anyway, I just think it's awful that they again, and then they push him. And not only do they push him, they let him copy everything, or not let him. They have him copy everything that Randy Orton's doing, which is apparently he's in bad shape. He still has not back. Big E still in bad shape. Apparently, still hasn't returned. Maybe we'll see them in the next few weeks. Got an opportunity to see SmackDown. Those of you who missed last week's SmackDown, just remember any SmackDown you've ever watched, and you can say, hey, I watched that one too, because it was more of the same, actually. Because once again, SmackDown has a contract signing. How many more contract signings do we have to sit through? Seriously.
Well, Wendy Harkins said, I agree with you, Rodney. Riddle must have studied it. Mako said, for the love of God, all in all, which is good in the world, what's causing all this? Talking about what's causing all this, Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. Woo! He made a comment on I guess him and whatever that guy's name is that does the stuff with him, Conrad Thompson. Ric Flair, they were asked the question, says, who do you think if you didn't get the World Heavyweight Champion would be champion if you wouldn't have got the championship? And he said Ted DiBiase. Well, there's some truth in that. But Ric Flair also said right after that, so now, he didn't get the championship and he went to New York. Flair, I hate to tell you this, but it was 7 years later when Ted DiBiase went to New York. You got the title in 1980. When in 1980 that Ric Flair became world heavyweight champion?
I believe it was 81.
But Ted DiBiase is in Atlanta for a while. He's in Louisiana for a while. He doesn't get to New York. I'm pretty sure it's 1987. Could be the end of 1986, but no, Ric Flair, I'm sorry, but Ted DiBiase did not go directly to New York because he didn't get the World Heavyweight Championship. That was
No. It all came down to Jim Crockett bought Mid-South, okay, bought Universal Wrestling Federation. And for whatever reason, DiBiase was apparently not interested in working for that. And he would be right, would he not?
Yeah.
Because DiBiase would never have been the top dog for Jim Crockett Promotion. You had Dusty and his group that maintained the top position, and the other side was Rick. And as long as Jimmy Crockett was in charge, Ric Flair was going to be the main event all the time.
And ultimately, what causes the demise of the National Wrestling Alliance, putting those people and keeping those people on top.
Speaking of the World Championship, as you know, and you know how I do. I do not like to cause trouble, as you know.
No, I know that. Go ahead, but you go ahead and do it anyway.
But no, I'm not trying to start anything. But those of you who are with us on our program, which I may or may not said anything about Mr. Flair on that particular program. However, similarly, Barry Windham said the exact same thing we did. The exact same thing we did.
Yes, I saw that.
And so, it was an interview he did, and he said the exact same thing we said about Mr. Flair and the World Heavyweight Championship. So those of you who like to look that up, because I know that's a very touchy subject for some, go right ahead. But you will find that we're inside the business, have a completely different point of view than those that sometimes are outside. So.
Yeah, because we had to do business with most of these people, so we understood what they did.
I thought it was funny because they asked the question of Barry Windham and why he wasn't the world champion or something to that degree, and he said it was no. I mean, after that situation, the WCW title meant nothing. I mean, it was crap.
Charles, this is apple juice this week. It's not what y'all think. Yeah, it's the second time with Harkins said.
Yeah, that's all.
Kevin Penley said, Rodney, bro.
I just can't get over that. And then I did a terrible thing. I hate to start trouble, as you know. But I was watching Raw this evening. I was watching it in the fast forward mode with no sound, as I normally do, and that's how I am able to make it through the Raw event. I fell asleep through the program. I dozed and missed some stuff. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go through and just kind of spot and make sure I didn't miss anything. And I felt a match with Solo. Now, what was his last name? But you know his last name is Sikoa, I guess, or Sikoa. I don't know. I've never heard it. Okay. I never heard it, but I inadvertently did not fast forward this match. And I'm beginning to think Mr. Solo should still be at NXT because that was awful. And he looked like he blew up real bad. That was some terrible, terrible stuff. And what is this? Montez Ford. I watched that in regular speed. He just slapped that leg. I mean, he was a leg slapping every which way. It was just, he was doing his own lap slap orchestra and symphony in that particular match.
Let's talk about that for just a second. Let's talk about the WWE, and let's talk about ratings and what's happened with the. If you were building a program, whether it be Raw, SmackDown, AEW, NWA, and you are doing a program that starts out at 1.6 million, drops to 1.3, and then drops to 1.1 at the last hour, What would that tell you? Well, something you're doing within that show is losing people, or Netflix has got a great show on and they just don't want to watch that crap no more. What is happening to these programs? Here's the thing. Does WWE and AEW, for that fact, do they really not care because they're getting paid regardless if the ratings are big time or not? Is this just, let's just, hey, we know that was crap and it looked horrible, but people will buy it. They're paying us. Who cares? They didn't. Those executives, they're idiots. They're marks. They don't know no different. So why does it matter? They don't know. They don't know what wrestling is.
Well, and they would be true. They don't, and that's probably the reason they keep doing this repetitive thing over and over again, because it seems to get the executives all excited. And I think that is part of it. I mean, how many times, like I said, how many times can we see a contract signing? Seriously. I mean, how many times? How many times do they have to pick up the Dothan door? I mean, the steps, and hit somebody with it? I mean, how many times can you see the same thing over and over and over again? It's quite amazing. And when it comes right down to it, I believe it's because they do not have a vast amount of talent. There's nobody in the wings to come in and take their place. So they try to figure out something to do with these people every week. It's the same old thing. It really is the same old thing. Gunther is for me, is about the best thing going on right now. But for whatever reason, everybody has to be in a group. Can anybody explain to me why they have to have factions? I was thinking about that the other day. Why is everybody in a faction? And I have to go back to when we were growing up. Were there factions? Of course. But there were also two different dressing rooms that everybody come to. And that was your factions. You had the what we would like to call the scientific wrestlers. And then we had what we call the rule breakers. My grandmother called them the dirty wrestlers.
Yeah.
And I said, well, my mom, I've been in them dressing rooms. They have soap in there. She said, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Don't be smart in here. I said, but those were the two. There was just two factions, and that was it, basically. And so I kind of understand what they're trying to. I guess they're kind of in a roundabout way doing that similar thing where everybody's a part of a group. But I just don't understand it. I don't get why everybody has to be in a group. And if one person comes to the ring, the entire group comes to the ring. I'm getting that's a routine in every show now that I've noticed. That if Gunther comes out, he has his two stooges that comes out with him, and then if the OC comes out with the AJ Styles, and he's got his two hooligans with him. The same thing with the Brawling Brutes. It's completely and totally repetitive. And I mean, how many times do the Usos have to come out there? They've got two people, they have two people at ringside every time they wrestle. And you would think to a certain point, well, at a certain point, they would say, okay, every time you've got these two extra people setting out at ringside, they are not managers. Why are you here? You're not a manager. You're not a valet. Why are you here? Obviously to interfere. So to me, out the door. You got to be and it just makes sense. If you either on a card, you're either a manager or you're a wrestler. But in my opinion, you should be both.
Is this is something that I was thinking about today. The further wrestling got away from making it real to making it believable, the further they got away from it, the lesser fans watch the product. Because instead of it being real, they just make it a comedy and makes fun of the wrestling business. And if they think, and I'm sorry, but if they think that Sami, what's his name? Sami Zayn, whatever his name is, the
Zayn. Yeah, Sami Zayn.
If they think he is going to be a major star for them, I'm sorry, but he is nothing more than a preliminary bum, and that's all he will ever be. And he will never be more than that, because he's not The Rock, he's not John Cena, and John Cena wasn't The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, yes, he was. John Cena was The Rock. I mean, he did everything. He didn't have the people's evidence. He had the five knuckle shuffle or whatever. He
Yeah.
was doing he was doing the entire thing. And by the way, I guess they were trying to get the ratings up in China, so they brought back everybody's favorite wrestler, John Cena, so that they can not be paying attention to what they've done to them with the COVID lockdowns in China. So they brought back their favorite in China, John Cena, and he will be happy to get them back.
I think the ratings came up a little bit with John Cena on there, but you know what happens when that's all you can do? You can only bring people in, and that's the only way you can.
The ratings were up with on Friday night with Kurt Angle back on it. He did his little thing with the milk. So yeah, so they're having to use some of the more established stars, I guess, to get people up.
Mickey Mayfield said he watched an interview with Cody Rhodes, and he said when he was 17, they were broke. Dusty put all his money in Turnbuckle Wrestling and was losing money pretty much. If you don't have TV bookings, you can't make money. You know, Dusty could have done. There's a lot to that. There's a lot to Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling we can talk about. We were there for the probably right to the last year, Rodney, Turnbuckle.
Right.
Maybe we left because of some issues, and we'll talk about that on the supporter only thing that we do after this. We'll talk in depth about Dusty Rhodes and exactly Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling and the problems we ran into with Dusty with Turnbuckle. I don't know that he understood what he was and who he was and how important he was to the wrestling fans. Paul, we'll see. I forgot to wish you a Merry Christmas for your number one Canadian fan. Pass it along to Jeff.
Sure will.
Jeff Dobbs said, hey, that's a hotty toddy. That's legal in these sports. I cannot get up. I cannot get this. You know, you ever have this stuff just sticks right here and it cannot go down and it cannot come up. I cannot get rid of that. Yeah. It's just driving me insane. And Jack, I think, is having major problems with his sinus infection. So Jeff Dobbs said, is Big E Langston ever coming back? I would never wrestle again if I was him.
That's a very good question. I know that some people say that he's been seen at the Performance Center, but as far as actually in ring, nothing as of yet. And I hope he does. I hate that. Just miscue, basically. Put him in. Just put him out. That's just how fast. That's just how fast it can happen too. Just a slip up, miscue. It could really end someone's career. And it just happens like that.
That they don't have to do those things. It was really an uncalled for spot to be done, and they do these moves too quickly. Why not slow it down? The punches look like crap. Their kicks look like crap. But let me break somebody's neck because I'm going to do a stupid move on you. Let you go through a table, which is going to hurt you. Don't you punch me hard because I might cry.
Well, you might hurt we've got two on the injured list at this time. Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns have the exact same ailment, if you will. Both have the eardrum. I figured this. I guess if Roman Reigns was figuring it, that if Drew McIntyre can get away with it and not have to work, he could do the same thing.
A lot of people say Roman Reigns just comes up the reasons. He's the Sid Vicious of the 2023.
I wouldn't doubt it because last year he put the phony corona on, so he didn't have to wrestle against Brock Lesnar, which I thought was one of the that was the low points since I've been watching it. It was a low point, and then absolutely no obligation they felt to put that match on anyway. And then go around and tell everybody he is the longest reigning champion. Well, how can you be the longest reigning champion when you didn't defend your title because you were sick?
But see, this is what people say to them. They'll go, well, everybody knows it's a show. Everybody knows. It doesn't matter. I know that I'm watching Agent Carter right now. I realize it's a show, but if it has no continuity to it, Is that a word? I believe I messed that word up, didn't I? I put a nudity in there for some reason.
I think that's okay. If you have continuity, sometimes that will boost your ratings depending on who's doing the nudity.
That's true. The little bit of a lot of just the constant nudity. I think
you're not going to find any in that show. By the way, it's a fine broadcast.
It's a fine broadcast. It's well written, but if they just willy nilly went from one side to the other, I wouldn't watch it. It has nothing to do. And people say, well, you're old school. You don't like all the hot spots. I have no problem with the hot spots. I have no problem with them. But they need to be done in a way to that it makes
that furthers the match, furthers the story, sure.
And if one guy's going to dive through the ropes on Monday night, for God's sakes, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, make sure no one else does it within the show. You say that's the only guy going to jump through the ropes. Don't nobody do it, because if you do it, you're fired. If anybody jumps through the ropes except Joe Blow over here, you're fired. No one goes to the top rope but Bill. If everybody does it, it means nothing. And that's the reason that's the reason I believe by the time they started the 8 o'clock time slot, by the time they get to 11, they have done so much. They've seen it all within 2 hours. They don't give a crap if they see another hour that they've been watching 2 hours of the same crap.
And it could be that on that particular third hour, there was a rumor going around that MJF was going to appear.
DiBiase worked with the black glove gimmick. Great deal. Got over. I remember when he was working babyface in Louisiana. Dad was helping take care of the book. Ted DiBiase took the glove off. Dad said, I want you to put your glove back into your tights. And at the end of this deal, you've used it for this many years. Yeah. These guys are going to go to cheat. You're going to pull the glove out. Watch how the people react to it. Corey,
he was right. He was right. It got over good. Yeah, absolutely. And I have to admit, the angle between Dick Murdoch, Ric Flair, and Ted DiBiase was something that hadn't been seen there in a very long time. And it got over really good. And DiBiase was almost instantaneous, wasn't it?
Yes.
And that TV studio was it was magical, really, what they were able to pull off. And that was because of the talent. Absolutely.
Ted DiBiase was a very talented person. All the way around, from the time we saw him in Atlanta in 1981, we said this is the guy that should be on the top. We felt it because he was so good at what he did. Andy McDaniel said, had a great night, guys. Merry Christmas. Andy McDaniel got his book.
I sure do.
And
I saw the interview that I guess you posted it, Andy, with Ole. And Ole really just said it. I mean, he said it all. He said it all. It didn't take him long, 30 seconds, and he said everything he needs to say. It's awesome.
What's going to become of the Wrestling Hall of Fame museum they had in Texas? You know, I don't know. I've not heard. Maybe Jack will be on here next week. Maybe I know he talks to what's his name? I can't remember his name now. Mantell, whatever his name. I can't Mantell. Johnny Mantell.
Johnny Mantell.
Maybe he'll know. Maybe he'll know what's going on with that, because I don't. I know I don't know. Rodney, it's okay if you cause trouble.
Okay. Well, Wendy has given me permission.
Yeah, Richard Hood, Harley Race, the greatest NWA champion, in my opinion. I think he was a great champion because Harley had the ability to change with the wrestler he was wrestling with. Where Ric Flair, you almost had to have his match. You almost had to be Ric Flair. The only time I saw Ric Flair not have a Ric Flair match was with Dick Murdoch in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And Dick Murdoch told him, we're not going to do the same crap that you've been doing for a long time. And then Dickie just did all the crap that he usually does. So Harley Race was the greatest. Yeah, I think so. I do believe Harley was a good champion because he did change with the people he worked against. He would try to know what their strengths was, and he'd work towards that. And Ric Flair did it opposite. So, is Jack training for return to the ring? I think just to walk up there. And
I'll remind him you said so, Brett.
Now, he said he would never get back in the wrestling ring, so that's the thing. I heard Vince is coming back. Why? I don't think he's going to come back. I don't. Do you, Rodney? You think he will?
Yep, he will.
I
Should
think
be around. Will be around WrestleMania, but yeah, he'll be back.
I heard a rumor that Brock Lesnar wants to wrestle Gunther. That'd be good. Build it up.
I did heard that as well, and yeah, I think that's perfect.
Do you guys think Terry Allen would have been a great NWA champion? I think he would have been. He had the look, he had the ability, and if he needed to be a heel, he was kind of heelish anyway. Really, when you think about it, he was kind of Stone Cold Steve Austin before Steve Austin was. He had that attitude about him. So I think he would have been a good champion. And he had improved from the time we saw him in 1983 until they was going to put the title on him. He had improved so much. The matches that he had with Tully Blanchard, oh my gosh. I mean, just tremendous. What do you think? Terry Allen, Rodney, as champion.
Oh yeah, it would. I think it would be short term. I always thought that Tully Blanchard, of course, Magnum as well, but I think it would have been on champion long. I don't think maybe a year, but I really thought Tully should have been as well.
Kevin Penley asked the question, and it's true. He asked the question, Rodney, how many scientific wrestlers you see today?
I don't see any. There's not one. No, they're all
thing as a scientific wrestler.
No.
They have lost the concept of professional wrestling. They have lost that concept. And because the concept was I wouldn't say it was simple, because if it was simple, the people today would pick up on it. But it was kind of a simple situation. You put two guys on television, and the angle was the beginning. And you would do something that maybe was 5 minutes, 5-minute match on TV. Or you might do it in the arena. And so 3 minutes of it. Angle. The angle was the start. And it would only be 5 minutes. You only see 5 minutes of that angle. So you would have to buy a ticket on week 2 when they wrestled against each other. Then they did something that they might have wrestled maybe 8 minutes. And then 2 weeks later, maybe they wrestled with each other next week. Maybe they wrestled each other the week after that. That match was 12 minutes. And then the next match was 18 minutes. Then the next match was 30. And then you took all them pieces and you put them in that one match. And you didn't lose people like they say, oh, you lose their attention. You wouldn't lose their attention because you're telling a story. They've seen it. Well, Joe came down and tried to help him. Well, this time Joe come down and help him, and Bill come out there and made sure he didn't help him. He got him off. Oh, this time he dropped him. He dropped him off to the side and put his foot up on the rope. Oh, the referee caught him. Well, that guy came back up and put his foot on the rope. The referee caught him. That stuff is not done. There's nothing they do on week 1 that has anything to do with week 10. Nothing. It's booking week to week. And let me tell you, if Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Road Dogg don't understand it, then when they're gone, who's going to understand it? If they can't get it right, then who's going to say they're ever going to get it right? Because when they're gone, who's to take their spots? It's just, that's just the way it is. Street Fight is ready to break out. Let's see. They need to back up because a street fight is ready to break out. And they think that the fighting and all that's.
And the show started the exact same way again. Raw started with another brawl and then involved the man there. Bedtime Becky. And it was in a brawl again the week before. She was in a brawl with the same people again. Now, I have to get it. She ran everybody off so that Asuka and Bayley could have the match one-on-one.
It makes no sense. Have some finishes. Do they not know what a finish is anymore? Do they not know how to build? Okay, we're going to do this finish, then we're going to do this finish, we're going to do this finish. But if you do that, you become Memphis Wrestling. When Randy Helms was booking, it was all just a run-in show. That's all they did. Hey, what's the finish? Oh, you're going to run in. What? You're no finish? Oh no, what's our finish? What's our angle going to be? Oh, you're going to run in. That's not an angle. That's a run in, for goodness sakes, folks. You got to understand the wrestling business. And Ricky Morton says it better than anybody. It's not old school or new school. It's the right way to do it. And that's telling a story. And that's what's always made money. My opinion on extra people out there, if they don't have a manager license, they go to the back. But see, that's the realism. There should be some reality to what they're doing. And when you put no reality there, then it just doesn't.
Well, it's funny that you say this. And again, as you know, I'm not one to cause trouble, as you know now. But I'm watching Raw again earlier this evening, parts that I didn't sleep through. And I noticed that they fired Bobby Lashley for abuse of a referee. Okay, he merely elbowed him. Referee coming from back, grabbed him, and he gave him the elbow and knocked him down. Of course, the week before, he speared some generic bum in a blue blazer. But anyway, that's another story. However, it has no consistency whatsoever with what they had done at the Survivor Series when, if you'll remember, Sami Zayn hunched that referee real bad in that cage match. He was all over him. He was just had him by the arm and all that, and then hunching on him real bad. And they didn't suspend him for that. They didn't fine him for that. They didn't hold him responsible for hunching the referee, but hunching the referee might be all right because the referee might like it.
We're going to move on that one. Dom looked like.
Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I mean, he comes and he stops the referee from counting out Ramon Reigns, and I mean he's all over him.
Kevin Penley.
Cigarettes for everyone.
Kevin Penley said, "You notice how big Theory has gotten?"
Yes. Oh yeah. Everybody notices that.
When you were handpicked by Vince, you know what happens, Jeff Dobbs.
What are you trying to say? Wait a minute. What is he trying to say, Brent?
Richard Hood, back in the day,
are you saying that Vince sent him to some people and he knows people, or?
Yeah. I think so. Richard Hood said, back in the day, wrestling was made to look legit when wrestlers had their vehicles destroyed and guns drawn on them by fans. Yeah. And I don't believe it was the way they presented it. And I don't understand why they can't, at least while the show is on the air, at least make it look presentable. Make it look real. And not this satire comedy, Saturday Night Live crap that you're producing. And I'm sorry. Yes. I respect Shawn Michaels for what he did, but Shawn, you're not producing anywhere near the wrestling that you wrestled as. Triple H ain't producing any wrestling, and they'll go, well, now people's attention spans have changed. Well, so you're saying it's your product. They're not. What you're producing is not keeping them. So produce something else and see if you can keep them.
In the WWE, and again, I hate to cause trouble, as you know.
Yes, I know.
The most dangerous place to be right now in the WWE is in the parking lot. Anywhere near a car. You don't want to be in a parking lot. Somebody's attacked in the parking lot every single week. We have people's hands supposed to be slammed indoors. Now she's out. Forgot her name, the tank girl. But she's out.
But do you think
of a hand injury?
Then it's done on what was that done on? Raw or SmackDown?
That was SmackDown, I think.
Okay, if you look at if they would look and take a really long look at their ratings and how good did they do? They do stupid stuff like that for the first 2 hours, and people say, "I've had all the stupid crap I can take today. I'm going to go."
Well, her hand looked really hurt in that, and it was legitimate. She did show that there was an X-ray of her hand. We don't know if it's actually her hand or not because it's only the bone, so that could have been anybody's.
Show the true stuff. Show the ears.
Well, it was. Well, she was laying beside. We didn't actually see the slamming of the hand in the door, but what we did say it was Shotzi. Have to be very careful with that word. You can get in trouble. But anyway, it was her, the green-haired girl, and she got her hand slammed, and that was Baszler. It was Baszler and the woman with a tremendous personality. That's their champion now.
Yeah. Wendy Hark is new.
Ronda Rousey, Miss Personality herself.
New Day, new NXT
That's right.
Tag Team Champions, Wendy Harkins said. Kevin Penley, I was watching Southeastern the other day and how good Charlie Platt was with that promotion. Why did he go to the Birmingham show? Because they wanted Gordon Soley and they wanted to look more.
They wanted it different. Yeah, they wanted.
They wanted it different. And at the time,
nothing against Charlie Platt at all.
Yeah. Jeff Dobbs, it may be a show, but we all don't want to know the Indian, or why would we watch it? There's some good advice, Tony Khan. Yeah, I mean, I want to see something different. Give me something. Mickey Mayfield said, naked and a Fred Cousins from Birmingham. Richard,
yes.
I'm with you on that. I don't have a problem with hotspots. I don't. It's just it's gotta be part of what you're doing. That's just all I'm asking to do. Give me something to enjoy. I'll be honest with you. I'll turn it on for a while and I'll watch about 30 minutes of it. I hear the commentary and it's so horrible. I watch the matches. In the first match, they do the same thing in the first match they did in the second match. And by then, I've turned it off and said, listen, Agent Carter's on. It's a great story. I'm going to watch that. I'm not going to watch that. I'm going to watch the Justice League. At least they tell me a story during it. And I want a continuous story. It's supposed to be episodic television.
Okay, let me ask this question. I hate to start anything. But is the fact that you're actually having somebody to pull for an Agent Carter, think about it. You're not pulling for anybody on those shows. Nobody.
Yeah.
It goes right back to what we were talking about a few weeks ago with the sports teams. Most people will not miss an Alabama game or a Tennessee game or some of the professional football teams. They'll not miss not one of those games, but they'll just miss the wrestling. Like, oh, well, it's nothing. I can catch it next week. And they're right. Whatever you see, you can pick it up next week. No trouble. You don't have to worry about missing it.
Mako has a problem with the number one fan.
Okay.
Paul, I'm sorry. Who in their arrogance is the frog claiming to be the top fan from the Great White North? Who is this? I'm the number one fan from Canada, like it or not. Kevin Penley asked the question, Ronnie, if George Gullis was a bad wrestler, was he worse than the McGuire twins?
Well, the thing about it is when George was there, we had an opportunity to see some basketball. Okay. Also, they did not have to help him in the ring, in and out. They didn't have to take down like the bottom rope and have them roll in the ring. So there was a lot of stuff. There's, you could take each one either way. But yeah,
I've seen worse wrestlers than George Gullis in my time.
I have too.
I mean, I honestly have seen worse wrestlers. Big Bill Drummond might have been tremendous when he was younger, but as he got older, he wasn't that great. Crazy Luke Graham wasn't that great because they were older. They were older in their time, and so I didn't think they were as good as maybe they were in the 60s and 70s. We saw them in the 80s, if you'll remember. It was in the 80s, but there was other wrestlers that was just equally as bad as. And Jerry Jarrett can talk about George Good, but Jerry Jarrett wasn't that great either. I mean, I saw his punches. Jeez Louise. And he had the body of a 5-year-old kid. I mean, he was.
So if you were saying, all right, if you had let's say a bodybuilding pose down between Jerry Jarrett and George Gullis, which one do you think would win?
I think it would be a tie as the worst. I mean, have you ever seen Jerry Jarrett hit the ropes? He hit the ropes.
That's what Dad used to talk about.
He hit the ropes like he was afraid he was going to get hurt by him.
And I can understand it because what we've seen, especially with WWE, with the equipment failure, he might have been hitting them, afraid he would hit them too hard.
Oh, that's right. In the front row. The rings that they had purchased.
That's right. You never know. He said these rings are barely put up.
Everyone keep Robert and Ron Fuller and their families in your prayer. They lost their mother Rest in peace, Vince Fuller. Yes, we want to send our condolences to Ron and Robert. Rodney or Brent, do you think Terry Allen would have been a good NWA champion as a Hiller Baby? I think TA had the ability to go where at the time though there's no territories left, so he would probably needed to be more babyface because people loved him. And they loved him in Mid-South Wrestling. Yeah. But the building process that they gave him, it was just
well, very similar. I mean, well, it's not similar, but they took a lot of time. Dusty took a lot of time to build up TA. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and Bill Watts did. Took a lot of time, but Wrestling 2 is what got him over, and Wrestling Against Wrestling 2 got him over. Why don't they have 1 hour draws anymore? I don't know that anybody could actually do it. I mean, they can't do 1 hour of high spots the whole match, I don't guess, but no wrestling psychology. Yes, I will agree with you.
Exactly right about that.
Jeff Dobbs, Gilbert versus Goldberg. I heard Bill turn him down. Jerry wanted to do a pay-per-view to make his retirement money. Wendy Ark, as that appears to the video today, saying that Lashley isn't fired. They're going to sit down and talk later this week.
See, Adam, that's what happens right there when you make hasty decisions like that and use such vulgar language. I'm going to tell you, he used the bad word in there, really bad. I'm talking about that one that starts with an F. This was just unbelievable kind of language. Mr. Pierce may be the one needs to be suspended or fired.
Mickey Maidfield, Sam Houston talking about the Battle Royal. He was slapped over the top rope by Andre the Giant was hilarious. But could you imagine if Andre was really angry with you, just what he could have done to you? I don't know. You'd have to ask John Studd that question. He did not like John Studd, and there's a couple other people he didn't like. He didn't really like the Freebirds. Didn't really like Michael Hayes.
Well, this is a question. Maybe the insiders would know. What is the beef between? What was the beef between Roddy Piper and Michael Hayes? I listened to an interview with Piper where he was talking about it. I didn't quite understand what the beef was between Hayes and Piper. Something about when he first was in Georgia or something to that degree, that Hayes was in the shower and he asked Piper if he'd ever been peed on by a wrestler or something to that degree. I mean, I'm not sure. That would just say, you don't want to use these showers, especially one with Michael Hayes has been in it. Need some bleach. Does anybody know that what there might be a beef between Piper and Hayes? Because I really never heard of such a thing. But this was a Piper. It was an interview that Piper was doing, and he said that Hayes was a snake in the grass, and really did not go into any detail. The interview, that part of the interview, only lasted maybe 2 minutes at the most.
Richard Hood, do you guys think the ECW had a lot to do with the high spots? I don't think so. I think Mexican wrestling had something to do with it.
Lucha Libre.
It's all Lucha Libre now. Yeah. ECW would tell some stories.
They brought us the triple threat match, which
really and truly, they should be paying him millions of dollars.
Sure, they should. Well, maybe he is getting it, and for whatever reason, he hasn't been seen in a while on TV that I've noticed. Maybe he's working on some of the project, but and then we also all the chairs and some of the other accoutrements, all the underneath the ring with all of the different weapons. For whatever reason you would have underneath the ring, such as kendo stick. I'm not sure what that is necessary for while you're putting a ring up, but if anybody should know, just let us know why that.
Well, maybe WWE has you have to use a kendo stick. Maybe
kendo stick.
Tie those ropes.
There's all kinds of tables under the ring. Does anybody know why there would be so many tables?
They evidently went to Dothan, Alabama, and never could get a table, so they started bringing themselves.
I didn't think about that. And if you borrowed somebody's table that was there, they'll get mad and then come taking all your stuff off and throw it in the floor.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be the manager of the building. He was drinking more than this little bit.
Are you saying that he and Matt Riddle like to party with each other?
Yes, I think so. Anyone here missing someone? As in me? Michael Barr.
I was just thinking about that right before you came in.
Yeah,
where Michael's at tonight.
Michael Barr said, just suspend and get rid of the whole bunch and start over new. All I would ask to them, you know what I'll ask to them is, tell me where you're going. All right. Let me know. Matt Riddle, you're going to bring him back. What are you going to do with him 12 weeks from now? Let's start an angle right here. Tell me when you're going to blow it off 12 weeks.
I would say what I would believe is that he is probably going to be in those vignettes with Lacey Evans, and she's going to shave his head off, and he's shave off his hair in like in a military hairstyle, and now he's going to be in the military.
Well, while
he's going to be there, Gomer Pyle. Yeah.
While he's gone, could he learn how to do that kick and not miss the guy 100 feet away?
You went way too far now. And also, from what I understand, in her probably one of the first vignettes, she's going to present him with wrestling boots.
Hey, one of the things that I noticed when I was watching the Justice League, it's ridiculous. When Superman, he came back, they brought him back to life. Mm-hmm. And darn it, I didn't see the wires and everything just rolling all over the place. And
that's cheap.
And then I saw the bullets when they was going to go, and they hit her like that, and you could see the wire
going with kind of like the sparklers, that they had.
It was just
they were holding it out.
I did not see that. If I would have saw it, I'd do just like I do with WWE. I turn it off when I seen people.
But Michael wants them all suspended. Just get rid of all of them.
That's right. That's where we're going to go with it.
That's what Dutch Van Zyl said about the women's division. He said he'd fire them all and then hire them all back.
Richard Hood said, Brent, you didn't like the Freebirds after you brought them to WWF back in '84 for a cup of coffee. Yes, I think he got mad at them because they showed up late. Michael Hayes always said this stuff. He said, don't show up 5-10 minutes late. Show up an hour late because they're just happy to see you. But what Michael didn't understand, he had just got there, so they didn't care if he was there or not. Nobody cared. Nobody was paying to some.
And the fact of the matter is, when they come to the ring, nobody cared that they came to the ring either.
They didn't. They were not over there, were they?
No. Well, the Freebirds were brought in the wrong way. Absolutely the wrong way. That would not have. They would have been brought in the proper way. Instead of being with Dave Dog Wolf, whatever his name was. Did that part of that Cyndi Lauper thing. If they would have brought them in like they should have been done, it would have been a completely different thing with the Freebirds, I believe.
Rick Brooks, I know Piper didn't like Lord Alfred Hayes. Yeah, I heard he didn't like him. I didn't much care for Lou Albano either. Mickey Mayfield, ECW was a breath of a new era until it became the same thing over and over again. That's what's going on with wrestling today, I think. That's what happened. You've done great, and they can't repeat it. I agree. Just how many times do you just do the stuff over? How many times?
Dave Dog.
How many times did we do the Four Horsemen to the point of nobody cared? How many times did we do the NWO to the point that they don't care? I'm not going to say no names of bookers, all right, but I'm just going to say in the territory days, there were bookers, and this is what would happen. You would sit down with the booker, and you'd go, let's say this was a Monday night, right before TV, and you would sit with the booker, and you go, well, Monday, we only did $6,000 house in Birmingham. Tuesday, we ran Mobile, and we didn't draw 3,000. Well, Wednesday, we ran Meridian, Mississippi. I don't think there was 150 people there. Thursday, we ran a spot show. We did 400 or 500 people. Friday, we hit a spot show. Saturday, Dothan was 1,000 people. We got to do something different. We need you to do something different because it's not working. So tonight, you got the opportunity to do something different. If the cards were the same exact cards that didn't draw the time before. And then you go to them the next Monday, you go, listen, that didn't draw. Evidently, those guys are not going to draw in the main event. You need to get rid of them. And let's bring in 2 other guys. Let's bring in let's start getting rid of half the talent. Keep half the talent. Let's get rid of half the talent because we're not drawing. 2 weeks later, nobody was getting rid of, nobody was giving them a deal. That's what's going on with wrestling today. They keep on going down and down and down. Go back to 2015. They were doing 3 to 4 million people. Every year it's got worse. Every year it has got worse. And they're still producing that same show that does not get them ratings. That is crazy. And it's not new. It's been done for years. But in the 1970s, when a promoter came to you and said, I want you to don't do that again. Guess what? If you did that 2 or 3 weeks, they fired you as a booker and they found somebody else and they didn't get rid of the talent because they knew not to do that. But for goodness sakes, we've been there, seen it. And it's, am I right, Rodney? We this has been done for.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I'm not saying that, I've been rough on the WWE, but let's be honest now. They did the Elimination Chamber coming up and it sells out in the first day. I mean, they have their following. People like their show. I just see that it's repetitive. It's what we're saying in some of this.
What could it be, though, is what I'm trying to say. What could it be?
Yeah. It could be better. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Huge.
Well, every time they try to get somebody, though, they get hurt, and you would think that somebody would figure out what's going on there. Sure.
Yeah, good to hear that he's going to be introduced to some wrestling boots. Richard Hood said it was Dave Wolf.
Dave Wolf, yes.
Jeff Dobbs, Piper only like Portland. Don't you know?
Yeah, that's right.
You can't refurbish the original, Richard. That is true, and it's been done over and over again. Michael Barr said, agree, Brent, the booker needs to sit down with the wrestlers and see what can be done to get a bigger crowd response. As mentioned, get rid of the non-producers. And that is that's the thing. And eventually, if you do not get the numbers for Fox or you don't get the numbers they will eventually get rid of you. Because you could they're only going to take it so much when you ask for $250 million, you're not even producing $250 million worth of revenue. When the contracts come back up. So now you've got all these guys you're paying this big money contract to. Well, now you can't pay them because the companies are not going to give you that money. So, I mean, let's say you've paid somebody and you said, okay, they're going to get for the next 3 years, 4 years, they're going to get $3 million a year. But what happens in 2026, if they don't renew your contract, well, you got 1 year, you can't afford to pay that guy because you certainly ain't drawing in the houses because you don't try to do anything for the house shows. It just, I don't know. It's just, the wrestling business is a very complex business. And if they just take the time to make sure that wasn't repeating themselves week after week after week, I believe they would see their ratings go up. But they're not going to. If I'm not going to watch the same thing over and over again, I'm just not going to do it. Christopher Hughes and Piper and Piper darn sure didn't like Pat Patterson. Yeah, for some reason he did not like Pat. Evening, gentlemen. Hope all is well from Christopher Hughes. Rodney, we're fixing to get off of here, but what's your final comments?
Well, Asuka, as you well know, announced today that she was going to have to take some time off. Also, Sonya Deville, she's been upset about her booking, and possibly she might be wanting to look for opportunities at our good friends at AEW. I hear that if you work for WWE, that Tony likes to hire people like that, so she might be able to get there. And Tony Khan has hired a former vice president of the global for TV from the WWE. So,
hello there. I'm well, they just fired the lady who actually paid for the AEW deal. They got rid of her. Like almost overnight they fired her. If I'm an executive again, and then if I'm an executive sitting around there, so wait a minute now. Did I hear that Tony Khan? Do I hear that he hired a WWE guy? If we're all going to get WWE guys, why don't we just get WWE to produce our show? Why are we letting this amateur produce a show when we can get the people that do all the leg slapping? Why do we need We need the amateur leg slappers.
Did we
Right.
miss? Did we miss him? Did we miss one? Did we miss one of his comments?
I don't think so. I don't think we did we?
It may not be on here. If we missed one, we're sorry. Put it back up there, Michael. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't see it there.
We got the last one we got from you was about, you agree with Brent about bookers need to sit down with the wrestlers to see what can be done. The other one we may not have seen before. Oh,
yeah, he said he was joking.
Okay, well, we were trying. We thought we kept up with it.
You know, Wendy, we understand it, but they don't get it. Build to the main event. Don't put it up at the first of the show. Promotions need to stop putting main event matches in the beginning of the show built up to the big matches. Wendy, we understand that for some reason. The people who get into the big bucks, the $1 million a week or a year or whatever they're getting, don't understand it. It's just absolutely crazy. Maybe Tony can get Vince Russo. That was said by, let's see, that was said by Mickey Mayfield. Kevin Finley said, did you know that Eddie Harnheimer produced Pro Wrestling USA after IWA? I didn't know he had anything to do with it, but man, that man didn't have a clue what he was doing either. Do they really use bookers per se anymore? No, it's just writers. That I believe is one of their biggest problems. They have seriously gotten away from the way things are done that are proving to work. Stats don't lie. All right, Rodney, we need to get off of here. Any last comments?
I made my last comment. The last comment that I made was the last comment. That was last comment that we made.
Well, then if you made that last comment, that means we've got all the comments out.
This is the last one that we're going to make before we make the comments. That would be the final comment before we go on to the next thing.
Yeah, I know. Well, evidently the comments are done.
Wait a minute, Sarah Smith. Wait a minute.
Look at the quarter hour ratings. The first hour is stronger than the last, I believe. I know. Makes no sense. Makes no absolute sense. All right, Rodney, we're going to get off of here, and we're going to go over here to our supporter channel. We're going to talk a little bit about Dusty Rhodes and Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling for those of you who are supporters of the channel. And we will see everybody next week right here. Hopefully, Jack will be back, and we'll talk more about Christmas spectaculars as we're just a couple of days away from Christmas that day, and we'll talk about that. Thank y'all so much for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. We'll see everybody next week.